Black Krrsantan returns, and we have some new members that join Squadron 5 of Shadow Wing, all in this week's episode of Star Wars Weekly. Hello everybody, my name is Starrapter, and welcome to the channel. Every week I'm super excited to talk to you guys about Star Wars, anything that has to do with the comics, novels, TV series. I'm game to talk about. There's so much released on a weekly basis. I try to keep you guys up to speed with all of that. So this week we have two new comics from Marvel. First one I want to talk about is TIE Fighter issue number 4. This is the tie-in comic with Alphabet Squadron, a novel written by Alexander Freed, which is on bookshelves now. So this is the penultimate issue of the 5-issue miniseries Shadows Fall, and we have some big stuff happening from the last issue. We know that two of the members of Squadron 5 went down, killed in action. They retrieved the Star Destroyer from these defectors of the Empire, and now they are back. And we open up the story with these two cadets being called into filling in those roles of those pilots that were killed in action. So this story is not doing a whole lot of action at all. There's not a lot of action, but what it is it's telling the story about what's happening next with Squadron 5. Their next mission is brought to them by Grandmother, and she tells them that they have to go and take out this vehicle that these rebels are defecting on, or these Imperials are defecting on to the rebellion. They have this mobile kind of vessel going around, so that is their next mission. And we find out, the leader of Squadron 5, Bruce, he finds out that they have cadets that are filling in the roles, and he's not happy about it, obviously, because these guys have been through a lot, and, the cadets have not even done anything with live fire. So it's very worrisome. So this issue is all about leading them up to the events of them going after this target, this rebellion target. And we have that backup story, as always, with the character of Ganem this time. And it's him on Coruscant a couple years ago. He's with his grandmother, and it's all about them just talking about how he's like the 7th pilot generation in the family, and the grandmother still thinks it's the Republic, even though it's the Empire, and to her it doesn't really matter a whole lot, which I think it's interesting, because from her perspective, she thinks that no matter what regime it is, what faction it is, it's all the same. It's this military machine. It's going to go on forever. There's different leaders that fill in those roles. Right now it happens to be Emperor Palpatine, and she's already foreshadowing his demise. And I thought it was really interesting how she went into it saying, look, he doesn't have any siblings. He doesn't have any offspring. He doesn't have a father or a mother. So when he dies out, that's the end of his regime. And that, I never really thought about it that way, right? To have the connections with the Emperor, there really isn't any. So that's interesting. We still have Rise of Skywalker coming out. Maybe that's what that's about. Maybe. We shall see in a couple of months. But getting back into some things that I enjoyed a lot in this issue. First off, seeing how this issue played out with an earlier side story with the character of Zin. And we've seen that she called for extraction to the rebels, I think. And now the Imperials have recovered that data, and they have been playing coy with the rebellion, trying to figure out where this vessel is, and that's how they find it. So I thought it was cool how they were able to connect the dots with that. We also see Kurita, which is where these new cadets are coming from. And that guy that was training Han Solo, yeah, he's still working there about 12 years later or so. His name's Yurub Nakan, the guy with the big scar on his face. Pretty interesting stuff there. I also did like to see that the Empire is replacing the pilots. We learned about this in the Alphabet Squadron novel, and a little bit, I think, in the last issue, where the Empire, they are just filling seats in TIE Fighters at this point. Doesn't matter how trained they are, and it seems like they're really building up to the point of the second Death Star. They seem very confident that they're going to scramble every one of the cadets on Kurita to get out there in a fighter to defend the Death Star, because that's the last stand that they think the rebellion will have. Little do they know what will happen. That's the story for another day. But we also have the Bruce equation, the leader of Squadron 5, how he's reacting to Zin not only dying, but being a traitor under his watch. So I did enjoy seeing what was going through his head in there. One thing I thought about this issue is I didn't like it a whole lot, as far as I was a little disappointed. We had so much steam built up in the first 3 issues, and I feel like this issue was almost like another setup issue. It had like zero action, and the fact that we're bringing in 2 new characters into the story this late in the game, having to try to develop them and use up spare pages in this issue that we need for other things, I thought was a little bit of a misstep. Now, maybe we'll make up for that in this last issue, because there's really so much to do in those 20 or so pages that we get of storytelling. How is this going to connect to Alphabet Squadron? I'm hoping there's a bigger connection. Maybe we'll get some kind of epilogue that'll play into events of the next book in Alexander Freed's trilogy. So we shall see. 1 issue to go. And finally, in comics this week, we have Doctor Aphra, issue number 34. This is part 3 of Unspeakable Rebel Superweapon. In the last issue, we had Doctor Aphra. She was walking away from the rebellion. She was with them for a little bit of time after being captured by Tolvin, and the rebels needed her for her assistance with the far killer weapon she has, which is this lightsaber type weapon. They planned on harnessing, re-engineering that to develop their own like mini Death Star. So they wanted her to be able to do that, and she says no thanks and walks away. So we find her on this planet with her ward, this little girl she met on the planet of Milvain, and they're doing their thing, and next thing you know, we have these mercenaries show up, and this cadre of mercenaries. One of them happens to be a droid that has a I think it's a BX battle droid head mixed with a super battle droid head mixed with a cape. It looked really cool. And we have a little Kessel Hound, and we have this other alien. But the most important thing is we have Black Krrsantan returning to Doctor Aphra. It's been several arcs since we've seen this Wookiee, and I love him, this bounty hunter Wookiee. And he is about to kill Aphra, and he notices her and decides not to because she still owes him a lot of money. And according to him, is he needs her alive to get paid, and she's in danger when the stormtroopers come. So it's Aphra and Black Krrsantan teaming up again. Everybody gets away on the Archangel. They get out of there. Aphra then realizes the Empire will never stop hunting her down as long as she has the information for this weapon. So she decides she needs help. She goes back to General Kraken aboard the Rebel fleet. And, well, she's planning a ruse because he thinks that she's genuinely there to serve in a rebellion, but really she's there just to get the far killer weapon back. As we see, she's coordinating with Black Krrsantan, who is in space with a freaking helmet. Like, I don't think we've ever seen a Wookiee in space. Well, if you've read the Last Shot novel, Chewbacca is in space, so maybe, but it's the first time we're visually seeing it. I think it's a really cool art design. And, well, by the end of this issue, pieces are moving. We're getting Dr. Aphra in position to make this heist and fool the rebels yet again. But the entire time through this issue, we have some storylines being cross-sectioned off with Aphra at an earlier stage of her life, years before, about 19 years from the start. Before this, we have her and her mother. Remember, they ran away from the father who was so obsessed with his work, he wasn't really caring about them anymore. So the mother takes Aphra. They go off on their own to this secluded planet, which happens to be the same planet that they ended up going, or Dr. Aphra went with Vulata, the ward from Milvain. They ended up going to this quiet, stinky planet. And, well, we see the transformation of Aphra throughout the years with her mother, a couple of years they had spent there. And we see, what I liked about this is seeing how much her mother actually cares about Aphra, trying to protect her, being a hypocrite to her own kind of principles of doing things and doing things on your own. Well, she's protecting Aphra the best way she can, so I really appreciated that. But it was really cool seeing Aphra actually speak Shiriwook, actually speaking the language of the Wookiees to Black Krrsantan. So we haven't really seen humans speak a lot in Shiriwook until there was Solo: A Star Wars Story. Obviously, that's how Han communicates without having himself killed by Chewbacca. So another cool feature in this issue was Aphra actually hacking a droid with those tattoos on her arm, is able to actually do that. So that was really cool, trying to get that droid to do that. And just, this is another stellar issue in Dr. Aphra, another solid issue that continues to push the story forward. Every one of these issues seems like they are almost 2 issues worth of content because they are so dense and they're so enjoyable, though. I mean, there's so much thrown at you, but I feel like it's absorbed at a good rate to where the story is enjoyable and easily digestible. So that is going to do it for this week's releases in Star Wars comics. Moving on to my question of the week. This one comes to me on Twitter from James M. the Crazy Gamer. historian at Robin McCormick. He's asking me, what do you think is the worst story in Star Wars history? Very simple. It's the only one I've started and not finished, and it's the holiday special. It's so bad that George Lucas himself writes it off and tries to have nothing to do with it. I mean, it's so bad that they never even released it on any kind of form of media after the fact when it aired in 1978 on CBS. There's YouTube clips of it. I've gotten so far as to Chewbacca's father or grandfather basically watching the extent of Star Wars porn in VR. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Stir whip. They are splicing images or clips from the original Star Wars into this for interludes, so it's borrowed content. Like, it's just, everything about it is just so bad. So yeah, I mean, that's what else more do you guys want me to say for how this could be the worst Star Wars thing ever created as far as the story? Well, there you go. So if you want to get your questions into me, you can go and do it by two ways. You could do it from YouTube as well as Twitter. Just make sure you go ahead and use hashtag Star Wars Weekly so I know it's okay to post on here. So next week is a big week for Star Wars, especially for novels. One of my favorite trilogies is coming to an end, and that is Star Wars Thrawn Treason. Although it's not really a trilogy, but a series, I guess, of 3 books throughout Thrawn's life that is going to come out on Tuesday. For comics, we have Star Wars issue number 69. Love this new creative team, so can't wait for both of those. So that is going to do it for me, Starrapter. What did you think of this week's releases? Let's talk about them in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I just put out a video earlier last week talking about the new Sith troopers that were revealed to be in The Rise of Skywalker. If you guys like this content, it's very simple to support the channel. All you have to do is subscribe. So that's going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.